I was like, I remember very specifically when Barbie like came into my realm, and I have never been this obsessed with anything in my life. Like it was something that like it spoke to me in a way that, and I remember I played with Barbies way into high school. But I kept it a secret. And I had my older sister Jackie. Like I remember I would be like, Jack, please let's play Barbies. Like I was like, come on, please. But she was like 2 years older, and she was like, you know, like a senior in high school, and I was like, I was like a freshman, you know, and I was like, come on, please, I know you want to, you know, and she was like, okay, fine, and like but it was like a dirty secret that we were like still playing with Barbies, like way older.
What would you do though? With them?
Well, that's where it's like weird. I remember, I think, no. Like famously, I talk about being like we were. Like my dad was cheap, so I remember like randomly we always had like
I can't wait for your dad to watch this podcast.
We talk about it every episode.
I know for some reason we had like lingerie Barbie, which I think was probably cheaper to buy. I don't think a lot of like girls were getting lingerie, but like I just remember we had like lingerie Barbies and like, but we would always like set it up. We were like. We would do this thing, and we had a Barbie dream house, but like my sister Jackie always got to be in the Barbie dream house, and then my Barbies had to be like on the couch, like so I was like over on the couch, and it would always start out. It was a dark and stormy night, and the power went out on the like you know, and so then my Barbies had to go over to the Barbie dream house and be like, hey, can I come in? Like our power went out. Yes.
In the lingerie.
And they were in their lingerie because it was a dark and stormy night.
This is like a start to a porno. This is like literally
50 Shades of Big Bar.
This is what happens when you're religious.
And then and it was a dark and stormy night, and then we would, and it wasn't like sexual, like I don't know how to explain it, but it would just be like, nice outfit. Yeah, well, we were getting ready for bed.
Everything you're saying is the start of a porno.
It's sexual. She was so sexually frustrated.
And then, like, the husband, like Ken was gone. Like, it was like, well, where's Ken? Well, he's at work. He's working the night shift. Like it was just like,
wait, I'm liking this. Keep
so
going.
Funny. And then we wouldn't know what we were doing. But you know, that was just like always how it was a dark and stormy night.
We had the house too. The house was beautiful.
Right.
And we had the car, which was like a big deal when we got the car.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just, anyways. So, okay. But that's we're going to get into more details of like kind of how we played with our Barbies. And you know what? I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. I know I'm not the only freak that was like, you know, being weird with my Barbies. I want to hear
in high school. In high school.
I want to hear what you guys were doing with your Barbies and with your Bratz, if you were even playing with Bratz, which nobody really was. But I want to hear from you guys.
Not the Bratz lashing.
Comment some of the weird stuff you would do with Barbies.
And like which Barbies you had. Like we want to know, like, did you have a weird one? You know, like there was like veterinarian Barbie.
Yes.
And like there's some there's a pregnant one with a baby inside.
Pregnant Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of those.
Right off the shelf.
And we lost the baby like immediately, and it was like, ugh. Like we couldn't even play with it anymore.
Like you physically lost.
I thought you meant like there was
like Barbie didn't have like an abortion.
The pregnant Barbie, it was a dark and stormy night.
It was a dark and stormy night. Because the baby was little. We think the dog ate it, but well, we'll never know.
So crazy.
Okay, but we're going to get into a little bit of the background because this is kind of a feisty little rivalry.
Yeah.
Monica's going to get into background of Barbie.
Yeah, okay. Ruth Handler, who I'm kind of obsessed with. I remember my mom being like, didn't shave her legs, feminist.
So cool.
Is
That's awesome.
like loved Ruth Handler. Okay, so she had already had her kids. She had a business with her husband, and they were starting to make like guns and toys. And she realized her daughter named Barbara was like playing with paper dolls, but was always like wanting to play with older dolls. Okay. So in the market currently, there were just like babies for kids to like take care. Like,
which by
like
the way,
moms taking care of babies.
Yeah, it's just baby dolls.
She wanted to play with like teens and adults and like these women that she would like aspire to. So she saw this niche in the market. They did so much research, y'all, with kids being like, this is the kind of fashion they're into. This is like
and when
the kind of
this
hairstyle.
is in 59, right? 1959.
Yeah, 1959. And
things were different.
She also, Ruth, like got an idea from a Swedish doll. And,
I think it was a German doll.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a German doll. And it was also like this post-World War II era, right? So Barbie is actually like credited with like creating teenagers, like making that a time where it's like teenagers and this adolescent phase where you can like look up to being adults.
Because they were like adults very early on.
You
Think about
a kid
it, like in the
or
war.
like an adult.
Yeah.
So I always think that she's super iconic. They did so much research. Like Ruth always said that like Barbie is a reflection of the culture at the time, because she was like, these are what girls are into. Like as the 60s and 70s and 80s continued, like the fashion reflected that. Like in the 80s there were a lot of like
which is weird because the body
women.
stayed like unrealistic the whole time.
Yes, true.
Well,
but
you know.
they intentionally made her like a smaller waist and whatever to be like this teenager originally. So I think it like
mom
had,
face.
I think it like had really great intention. She was a female business owner. Like she was actually doing research with women. And like, I was like, that's iconic. At that time, to have a company with your husband, to be a multi-million-dollar, the best doll company, the most selling doll company of all time.
Well, and also it's interesting that, because like, in 1959, it was sort of just like that the only thing women could do was like be a mom and a wife. And so I think it is kind of like,
or they were like hussies.
You have to admit it's kind of revolutionary that Barbie was just sort of like, here's Barbie and she can do everything. Like that's like, I know obviously the Barbie movie came out, so everybody's like familiar with it, but like it's really, if you really think about the time period,
it's incredible.
Kind of